3. That's a magic number. Yes, it is. It's the magic number.
What does it all mean?
Hello and welcome to Flintoff, Savage and the Ping Pong Guy. That's me, Matthew Syed. We got some really meaty topics this week. Performing in a big final, our guilty pleasures, and what is the most pointless position in sport. As always, a huge thank you to everyone who's got in touch through the week using the hashtag FredSavSide. But before we get going, let's do...
Just before we get going, Matthew, do you think you have now got a catchphrase? The meaty topics. He says it every week. Is that classed as a catchphrase?
I don't know. Can you think of a better adjective? Good topics, strong
I like
topics.
it. I'm not having a go at it. I'm just saying.
Did he text you this week, Fred? Matthew?
No, not this week.
He's put on about 6,000 or 7,000 Twitter followers.
Who, Matthew has?
Yeah, not said thank you yet, has he?
What? So the implication being that I'm putting on followers through association with the Savage Flintoff.
It's just bizarre how all of a sudden in the last 16 weeks you've gone up by 7,000 followers. And the previous 5 years, probably 100 a week.
Yeah, Fred, have you noticed how... Before we started this podcast, every time you looked at Robbie's timeline, I mean, we didn't do it very often, he was getting slated.
Yeah.
Now he's getting a lot of love through association. Have you had any feedback?
Do you know what? I just see it as like giving back to the community. You know, it's like a public service. It's, you know, we've seen all these campaigns, and this is to make Robbie likeable. It's a campaign. It's hidden. We've not told him. However, this podcast, it's not about me and Matthew. The sole purpose is for you to be liked by the general public.
No,
I reckon 23% of them might, you know.
It's trebled.
You know what, Matt?
Okay, topic number 1. After Cristiano Ronaldo scored twice in his third Champions League final, I want to talk about the psychology of the big match, having a big game mentality. Why do some stars rise on the occasion? What is it like to play in a big final or a decisive match? How do different managers handle the build-up to that crucial moment? Ronaldo, to me...
Do you know Ronaldo?
Yeah.
What's the connection, Matthew?
With big match?
Well, no, everyone you speak about, you either know him, you've met him, you love him, you're trying to get an interview off him.
Good point.
What's the connection with you and Ronaldo? There's got to be one. I've seen through this, Matthew. I've been watching you now. I've listened to you.
You've interviewed him?
I have interviewed Ronaldo.
Oh, he's after another one to follow up, isn't he?
Well, I've got to tell you...
He's going to be gushing now, isn't he?
But I don't know what your thoughts were on Ronaldo 5-10 years ago. I mean, people said that at Manchester United he was talented, but he didn't really contribute. He wasn't a substantive contributor to what United achieved, a bit like Nani. People said he didn't work hard enough on the training pitch. After Rooney got sent off and he winked at the bench, people said he was a disreputable human being. I think what we've seen through the arc of his career is a magnificent, talented sports person, but who also has an incredible work ethic. Trained, I mean, this is one of the things he said in this brilliant interview I did with him in Madrid. He would stay after training for an hour and a half every day at Carrington and practice kicking the ball with his laces so he could develop that trademark.
No shoes on, just his laces.
You know what I mean? When he used to kick it with the front of the boot to make it swerve through the air. So he's got this incredible work ethic. But when it comes to the big match, and we were talking about this before we came on air, Fred, what Ronaldo, in my opinion, does when he gets onto the pitch for a Champions League final, he's not thinking, what if it goes wrong? How could my reputation be harmed? He's thinking, how can I do something spectacular, outrageous, brilliant? He's thinking about the positives, and that's why he elevates his game. He's got a positive psychology, and I think that is one of the distinctive features of the great performers under pressure. And you were saying, for you, during the Ashes, you loved those big occasions.
Yeah, I'm not even going to start to put myself in the same category as Ronaldo because, you know, think what you want of him. I wouldn't want to get stuck in a lift with Ronaldo, let's put it that way. But you look at him...
You wouldn't want to get stuck in a lift with Robbie.
Oh, not after last week. Right? But you look at him and he's an amazing player. The only thing which I really enjoyed as a player was playing against, no disrespect to Bangladesh at the time, just does not excite me. I want to try my best, but there was something I think subconsciously holding me back a little bit because it wasn't the most taxing. When you play against the best teams in the world on the biggest stage, that was all the reasons that you wanted to play, for me, cricket as a kid. To have them chances to be involved in that game.
Was there ever any self-doubt at all?
Every time. enjoyed self-doubt. I really did. And whether you was a psychologist and all that, analysing it, I asked myself questions all the time of myself. I wasn't bothered about the questions which I asked. I was more bothered about the answer.
Yeah.
It was fine. I'll be fine. I love being in situations where I'm not absolutely 100% sure I'm going to get through them.
Yep.
So you look at some of the stuff I've since retiring or some of the games I performed in as a cricketer. Each time, before I've gone out there, I've questioned myself thinking, you're going to get found out today. Today could be the day we're not going to get through this. But then, as soon as I ask myself that question, that's when you kick in. That's when, no, come on, this is why we're having it. Not when you're 300 for 2 going into bat against Zimbabwe.
What about the final you come back for Lang?
Oh, mate, that is the one thing in my career. I came back, played a few 2020 games for Lancashire a few years ago, and I was questioning everything about that day because I couldn't bowl as fast as I wanted. I couldn't move as well as I wanted.
And this is because of the injuries, legacy of the injuries.
I'd also told a few porkies about how much I've been practicing. I've been around the country with my chip van. And somehow I've found myself 2020's day playing for Lancashire in the final. They've had an injury and I'm playing. And then part of me was thinking, I wanted this. And then part of me is thinking, I'm not up to it. I don't know.
Yeah.
And this was a different one where in the past, I had fitness, I had form, I had backing everything up. On this day, I had nothing to back it up with. And I was stood at the end of my mark with the ball in my hand, about to bowl the first ball, not knowing, one,
where's it going to go?
I had an idea where it was going to go, but I didn't know what ball I wanted to bowl. I didn't know how fast it was going to come out my hand. I didn't know if my knee was going to hurt as I ran into bowl. There was all these things going through my head. And luckily, I got a wicket first ball. Got Ian Bell. He played a shot, and it was slower than he thought, so he chipped it up in the air and caught. I then bowled, at the end of my second over, the worst ball I've ever bowled in my life. It was a waist-high full tosser, got it for 6. Free hit, the free hit went for 6. 14 off one ball. And then we went into bat, and the game was over, and it hit a couple of sixes and got us back into the game to win it. And I'm thinking, for the first time since 2009, I was alive and on a sports field. I was comfortable. I was at home. I had a bat in my hand. I was looking around the ground thinking, this is where I'm meant to be. Forget everything else. This is what I do. And I'm thinking I had 5 balls to get 14 runs off Chris Walks, and I can play every ball through in my mind now. And I hit one up to wide mid-off, got 2, and another 2. Then I hit a 1 I couldn't get back for the... And I've played this through in my mind so many times since, and I'm so pleased you brought it up because I'm going to go through it again tonight. Because when I shut my eyes, out of all the games I've played in my career, the one which is outstanding, not the 5-0 loss as England captain, the 2020 final for Lancashire, I should have won that game for them. I got us back in it. I should have won it for them, and I didn't. And I hate myself for it.
I remember watching it on TV. And he was like so close. You couldn't get back, could you?
But it was the first time in years. It was the first time in years that I felt all of a sudden, bowling not so much, but when I was batting, I was so nervous for my first ball. I was going to play a forward defence into the offside wherever the ball was pitched. I'd decided I'm going to get off mark, get down the other end. So I got 1. I was batting with a lad called Jordan Clark. I said, we need a few runs here. And I tried to pass the buck, right? This is where I was. And I said, Jordan, I'll push 1, you hit the 6s. And he just turned around at me and says, hang on a minute.
You're Freddie Flintoff.
You're here to hit the 6s.
You're Freddie Flintoff.
Right, the next one for 6.
Well done, Fred.
But then as soon as I did that, all of a sudden, all them old feelings, all that, I was looking around the cricket ground, not as a spectator, not as a fan. I'm a player again. Yeah. And this is where I want to be. Yeah. This is what I've loved. This is what I missed. And I couldn't bring us home. I hate myself, Robbie.
I don't know what you felt listening to that, but when I was thinking about this subject on the train up today, I started thinking about a final that I played in table tennis, Commonwealth men's singles final in Glasgow in 1997.
You British number 1?
Oh, do you know, did I tell you I was number 1 for 10 years? Did that crop up at all? Playing Alan Cook.
Oh, Cookie.
And this is
Cookie.
Not Cookie. Oh, Cookie was a bit of a mover, Cookie.
Good backhand.
Oh, mate.
Better forehand, big forehand smash. and it got to 20, so best of 5 up to 21, got to 20 all in the 5th. And you were describing shot by shot what happened. I know exactly what was happening, what I was feeling, what I was thinking. Serve, pushed wide to the forehand, topspin to my forehand. I sliced down the line to the backhand, stepped forward and made a topspin winner. Then I did it again to win. And that feeling on the biggest stage, performing in the way you want to perform, it's the most extraordinary and beautiful and wonderful and uplifting experience. And you don't get that away from that stage. And it's got to be the biggest stage. For me, that was the Commonwealth. So I was never going to win the Olympics. But I've got to tell you, just reliving it in my mind and listening to you there, it's powerful. And do you know what makes it even worse? Is when you lose the capacity to deliver on the big stage. And that's what happened to me as I've said on the podcast before, suddenly lost my nerve in my late 20s, early 30s. I'll be on the big stage, and instead of thinking, this is me, this is where I want to be, this is my life, I was thinking, oh my God, what if I lose?
Did you put that voice on? What was that voice?
Negative voice.
Yeah,
what if I lose?
Should we skip past me in the big games?
No,
then?
come on.
You've been on both sides of this.
Yeah.
I'd imagine, right, you... I know you play it down and we all have a little laugh and a joke about it. But do you know people and you look at sports people and you look at people in your side and you do it in a dressing room on the big occasions. And I knew the ones who were going to make excuses. I knew the ones who were going to shrink. I knew the ones who were not going to do anything. And I know the ones, and you look at them in the dressing room. KP, like, for all his whatever you think, on the big occasion, you just watched him grow in the dressing room. He's like, here we go. Marcus Trescothick. Wow, quietly but grew. Steve Armisen. But you, I'd imagine, in a dressing room, on the big occasion, you're the one who's, come on, we're having this.
Yeah, I would like to think now. That's why...
I wasn't sure what the punchline was going to be.
Yeah.
I thought about one, but I was committed. No, I thought that was just cruel.
Show me a bit of love there. Show me a bit of love there. Yeah.
First time, let's make a note of it. Yeah,
so the 2 cup finals I played in was... We lost one against Spurs when I got the headlines for the wrong reasons. When Justin Edinburgh was sent off, I was at fault. He clipped me. I went down too easy. He was shown a red card. Then Alan Nielsen scored in the last minute. They won the trophy. All the headlines were Spurs won it, but I was the bad person. I was the pantomime villain because I was the guy who got him sent off. And in the end, I think the neutral probably wanted Spurs to win because of my actions. So I was solo after that game. And but when we won it, the funny thing is, when you make a mistake in a cup final and you lose the game, that mistake is highlighted massively, isn't it? Because it's at Wembley, it's on a big stage, and people can have a go at the League Cup or the Worthington Cup, as much as they can, saying that's the only one trophy I've won. But I take it as how many professional players who've made a living out of football have actually won a significant trophy at Wembley? What would the percentage be?
The thing is, Rob, I'll be honest with you, you don't need to defend it. It's an amazing achievement.
What would the percentage be?
What was it like for you turning up for them finals? What was you like? How did it make you feel? Talk us through getting up in the morning, going into a final.
So it was the week really leading up to it because Leicester City, Martin O'Neill, we had a very good side. They'd won the League Cup against Middlesbrough in a replay. I think it was Stevie Claridge who scored the goal in a replay against Middlesbrough. And anyway, they won the trophy. They were in Europe, and then 2 years later we played Spurs. And the first thing is, the week's different because some weeks you'll do pattern of play leading up to a league game.
You'll do what?
Pattern of play. So the manager might pick the team on a Tuesday. You'll work on that side to get shape right. But leading up to a cup final, I think he wanted to keep everybody on his toes so you wouldn't know you're playing. And I think we played Barnsley the game before and I didn't have a great game. So I was thinking, am I going to be playing in that week? So you're looking for little incentives, you're looking for little clues what the manager's doing. And if you're not in one position and somebody else is thinking, I was going on thinking, I'm not going to be playing. I'm not going to be playing. And it's the nerves are there all week to think, am I going to be playing? And then Martin took us to London 2 days before the final. We went to a show.
By the way, were people trying harder in training to catch the manager?
Yeah,
was there an intensity?
Yeah, because you want to be in that team. You want to be in that team at Wembley because you can picture every boy growing up wants to play at Wembley in a cup final. Yeah, they do that, and that is the dream. No matter what cup final is, and people can have a go at the league, but it's a cup final.
No matter what sport or background you're from, you would love to play in a cup final at Wembley. I'm not a massive football fan, but I would love to play in a final at Wembley.
So we went to a show. I can't remember what the show was.
What, a theatre show?
A theatre show. We all went down together, a bit of bonding, a theatre show.
Went over your head, did it?
We go and watch very soon. So we do that. We stay in, I think it was Burnham Beaches, a famous cup final hotel. I can't remember exactly. I think that was the one. And then the morning of the cup final. So you've had your suits. You've all got your suits ready. You've got your... everything's ready to go. You've had a nervous night's sleep because you don't know what the team's going to do.
Was you a sleeper or not?
Yeah, a good sleeper. Yeah, a good sleeper. Yeah. Used to talk to myself quite a lot.
Right, what sort of stuff?
Oh, no, I used to talk to myself to send myself to sleep. Oh, just...
I thought you was giving yourself a pep talk. I was giving you too much credit there.
Yeah. So you'd go down.
You're doing it again now.
You'd go down. Let me finish this story.
Sorry,
so you'd
Is it just one subject this week?
So you'd go downstairs.
Are you going to tell us in 90 minutes?
Let me finish.
Second by second.
You want the story? So listen, you'll be there waiting for the team. He announces the team. You're in the team. Your heart starts racing.
Right.
Then you get on the bus and the pictures of... I used to watch Grandstand and the bus going to Wembley, all the fans lining the streets. And I've got to say, when you sit on the bus, you're looking out the window and there's less...
You can listen to us talk more about the psychology of playing in a big match or final by downloading the podcast in all the usual places. But next, we moved on to this. What are the most undervalued positions in sport? And what are the most pointless positions in sport? I think I know what you're driving at here, Robbie. Take it away.
Well, I seen you wrote a piece on goalkeepers, Matthew, being undervalued, and it did get me thinking about, this topic. What? Me and Freddie were at cricket at the weekend, and I was looking at the square leg umpire, and I was just thinking, what is the point of a square leg umpire in cricket? And people might say, well, run-outs, but in professional cricket now, even if they're 10 foot in, they do this motion of, remember Shiraz and they do a TV? Go to the TV.
Yeah.
They're in by 10 foot, Matthew, and they have to go. So what is the point of a square leg umpire?
I'm honest with you, Bob, I'm going to defend the square leg umpire because you just answered your own question there in some ways. You was at a kids' cricket match with a square leg umpire, which it's essential. They need it. Then you've gone to... There was no TV cameras at... Brooklands on Sunday morning.
Why do they need it in...
Your lad Freddie's going to refer to the umpire and the umpire's going to go, let's have a look on the replay on the big screen. It's Brooklands in Sale.
We knew they were in or out when we were miles away.
And also, what about in matches which are televised and you do have access to the third umpire? What's the point of a square leg umpire then?
They're running the game.
Wow, how
they're running the game.
What
You've got two umpires. It's not like football where you can just run up to them and shout and scream and abuse them. They don't need referees. They need a super nanny, the footballers. Never mind the referee. We've got two umpires. What they say goes. So you got the umpire. He's just keeping the spirit of the game. He makes the odd decision at square leg. He doesn't have to, but he's out there.
Another pointless position.
He actually, other than the run-outs...
Where do you want him to go?
What does he do? Other than making decisions on run-outs and stumpings, what else do they do?
He catches a bit of sun.
What about...
He sucks on a few Werther's originals while he's there.
What about...
What if... This is... No, yes, what he does. What if the main umpire miscounts, right? Counting to 6, you might think it... Well, you won't think it's easy, Bob. Sometimes you miscount. Sometimes you miscount. You can just say to the square leg umpire.
Well, they chuck beads in the air and catch him once.
Usually coins.
2 coins.
Yeah.
Fourth official in football.
Yeah.
The guy who stands by the dugouts just to get ripped apart by managers, by coaching staff. What does he actually do except for all the substitution boards?
I'll tell you how many minutes left.
Yeah,
they check the studs, don't they, when substitutes come on?
I'll tell you what, that's a big job. That's a big job.
Is that anymore?
I don't know. They
check studs. How can you play a game of football without checking studs?
The 12th man in cricket. Could you imagine how
don't even start. The 12th man.
He just runs on with drinks.
Yeah, the drinks.
And he can't even...
If you've got to hydrate, if you're thirsty, it's too late.
He can't even bat a ball.
Yeah.
What? No, because what happens is the 12th man, he's there, he does all sorts. I was 12th man for England when I was 17. And you get charged of all sorts. You've got to run sweaters on. You've got to make drinks in the dressing room.
It's like what you were doing at the Champions League, Robbie.
Yeah, so you can relate to this. You've got to go up and bring lunches down.
12.
Run out Ricky Ponting, one of them, Gary Pratt, best thing he ever did. I once did, I did it. I was 17, and I was in charge of Jack Russell. Right, Jack Russell, barking mad, wicket keeper, funny hat, paints. And for lunch every day of a test match, he had Weetabix, right? He had 2 Weetabix. So he said to me, morning of the game, he says, "Yeah, Fred, what I want you to do, I want you to put my Weetabix on at 1 o'clock." He's from the West Country. Yeah. At 1 o'clock. He said, "We'll come off at 1:15. I want my Weetabix." So I said, "All right, Jack, yeah, fine." First day, remembered, 1 o'clock, I've got his Weetabix in milk. He comes off, "There you go, Jack, there's your Weetabix." "Oh, these are good Weetabix. These are good Weetabix." Second day, forgot dinner, right? I put him in at 10 past. 10 past, I put him on the milk, he comes off, he looks at him in disgust. In disgust, he looks at these dry Weetabix. He said, "What time do you put them on?" I said, 1 o'clock, Jack. He said, "Oh, no. Oh, no. These had been put on at least after 8 minutes past." I said, "Come on, Jack, give us a break." And he was dirty with me for the rest of the trip.
Also, do you know what Jack Russell went on to be?
What?
Goalkeeping coach or assistant coach at Forest Green Rovers.
Did he?
Did you just hear that, or did you know that?
No, I knew that.
Wasn't he a brilliant painter as well?
Amazing
You
painter.
just said that, Matthew. You're not listening.
He don't listen, Matthew.
No, he doesn't listen.
Just about him.
What about... Here's another one for you. Here's another one for you. What about the geezer that runs on to stop the ball with his fingertips in American football?
Yeah.
But he gets paid a fortune.
But what?
He's got millions for that.
Seriously.
Just catches it, plonks it down and kicks it. Do you know the biggest one? Biggest one in sport? Biggest one is his golf caddies.
No, they're important.
A golf caddy, carry your own bag.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, he tells him about the
size of
yards.
golfers as well. They're all big uns. They can carry their own bag.
But I think they're important. They do yardages. They advise on the shots. It's a big
GPS. Do you know what? I'm getting on one here. Do you know if I was a golfer and I cared that much about winning a major, winning a tournament, we spoke about it before, big matches, coming to the party, I'd go and walk round the course. I'd go and walk round it and think, I'm not trusting some fella to tell me where to hit my ball. Mm-hmm. I'm not having him telling me on the green, just so they can make excuses. Why would you have somebody else reading your putt? You're hitting it, you read it. You take your notes, carry your own bag, get a buggy, get a trolley.
Do you know what?
Don't have some bloke walking round. Oh, it's pathetic.
What about directing of football, Matthew?
No, I'm not finished on caddies.
Right.
Pathetic.
What do you think how golf would change if you didn't have the caddy?
You give them 10% as well. I'm not giving someone 10% to carry my bag. £5 on airport.
Well, you get somebody to carry your bag at the airport, do you?
You can do.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods is caddy. Tiger Woods is caddy.
The missus, I give her a tip.
Highest earning sports person in the whole of New Zealand. Tiger Woods is caddy. And then he stitched him up later, didn't he? Didn't they fall out in some big way?
What about the cocks
What?
in a boat?
What, Pinsent and Redgrave? No, I say Pinsent and Redgrave. I'm sure they'll say they're essential.
What about the cocks, Matthew? What do they do, Fred? The cock.
They row the two of them, the two rowers.
What about the cocks in a boat?
Well, I think what they do is...
What do they do? They just wait.
What do they do?
No, I think the cock... They do a couple of things.
He's having it.
A couple of things. They steer. So they've got,
Steer a boat?
I think yeah, what do you mean? So of course they steer up. You don't think boats need steering?
A canoe.
No steering.
No, but don't they? In the boat race, they have, I think, two. If I remember rightly, I interviewed the cocks before one of the boat races, and I think they have two like wires that they fiddle with to get the. They also shout out the. Row. Or the tempo.
Row. Oh, my. They get knighted for this.
For undervalued, let me just put the goalkeeper thing in context and maybe come back to the...
Keeping's easy. Ball's massive.
Oh, come on.
Massive. What you got
Let me just get a couple of stats.
They don't even catch them these days.
Oh,
it's swerving around.
Massive.
I can't catch
If you want to hear more on the subject of the most undervalued and pointless position in sport, you can download the podcast now.
Thank you, guys, and thank you for listening. You can download the podcast for extended versions of all the topics we covered on this week's show at the 5 Live website and all the usual podcast places. You'll also find all of the podcasts we've recorded so far in the series. Please use the hashtag FredSavSide to get in touch through the week. If you could leave a review on iTunes and give us a rating, that would be great. Really appreciate those who've done it already. We'll be back next week at the same time, but for now, from all of us, goodbye.
Matthew, thank you. Police name 2 of the 3 London attackers tonight. One of them, Kuram Butt, was known to both police and MI5 and had been reported to the anti-terror hotline by his neighbours. Tonight, Leslie Ashmole with the latest from Barking. And before 11 o'clock, we'll hear from the last of the summer wine writer, Roy Clark, who pays tribute to Peter Sallis, whose death was announced today at the age of 96. Peter, also the voice of Wallace and Gromit.
First for news and the best live sport. This is BBC 5 Live.
Good evening, 10:30 on Monday night. It's Phil Williams here with you on 5 Live, and this is the late news hour.
And the main news on 5 Live are vigils held as victims of Saturday night's terror attack begin to be named.
And in sports, former Newcastle midfielder Cheick Tiote dies at the age of 30.
This is BBC 5 Live.
Let's start you off with the BBC News headlines on 5 Live and Stuart Clarkson.
Thanks, Phil. Good evening. A vigil's been held in central London tonight for the 7 victims of Saturday night's terror attack in the capital. It took place as details began to emerge of those thought to have died. 32-year-old James McMullen's family say they believe he was killed. He's missing and his bank card was found at the scene. Canadian Chrissy Archibald, who was 30, was named earlier as the first victim. Police have named 2 of the 3 men who carried out the attack, Karoom Butt and Rachid Redouan. Both lived in Barking in East London. 12 people arrested on Sunday over the attack have now been released without charge. In other news, the first funeral of a victim of the Manchester Arena attack has taken place on the Isle of Barra in the Outer Hebrides. Ailey MacLeod was among the 22 killed a fortnight ago. Tributes have been paid to the last of the summer wine actor Peter Sallis, who's died at age 96. He was also the voice of Wallace in Wallace and Gromit. Let's get the sport tonight from James Burford.
Tributes are being paid to the former Newcastle and Ivory Coast midfielder Cheick Tiote, who has died at the age of 30. His agent announced he passed away after collapsing in training. His former manager, Steve McLaren, told 5 Live Sport his smile was the most beautiful in football. Chelsea forward Eden Hazard will miss the start of the Premier League season. It's after having surgery on a broken ankle. While Southampton defender Virgil van Dijk wants a move to Liverpool. Saints are likely to put a £50 million price tag on the defender. World number 1 Andy Murray is through to the quarter-finals of the French Open, where he'll face Japan's Kei Nishikori. Murray swept past Russia's Karen Khachanov in straight sets.